It's 2024. Russia is flooding Ukrainian skies with some of the most sophisticated reconnaissance and attack drones on the planet, the Orlan 10s and the Shahed long range attack drones. Ukraine is burning through expensive Western air defenses trying to shoot down these drones. But somewhere over the beautiful city of Odessa, a 56-year-old hobby pilot named Maestro is, well, circling a Russian spy drone in a propeller plane from the 1970s, while his 38-year-old gunner, Ninja, who had never been in a plane before the war started, leans out of the open cockpit with his shotgun. This is not a joke, this is not a movie. This is one of the most bizarre and brilliant real life stories to come out of the 21st century war. This is the Yak 52, and this is how it became a drone interceptor. To understand why this story is so remarkable, you first need to know about the Yak 52, because this is absolutely not a fighter jet. The Yakovlev Yak 52 is a Soviet primary trainer aircraft that first flew in 1976. It would enter service in the Soviet Air Force in 1979, and it was designed as an aerobatic trainer for students in the Soviet Air Force. Actually, this thing became a mass civilian military pilot training program. It was called Soviet DOSAAF, and it was produced in Romania by a company called Aerostar from 77 all the way up to 1998. The aircraft is a small, all-metal, two-seat aircraft powered by a single, now I'm probably going to butcher this, Vendaya M14P 9-cylinder radial engine, which makes about 360 horsepower. It's got a two-bladed propeller, tandem seating, and a pilot in the front and a passenger or student in the back. It has a classic round engine cowling that gives it the look of a World War II era trainer. The wingspan of this is about 9.3 meters, and the length is just under 7.75 meters, and with an empty rate of around 1,015 kilograms. The airplane is not the fastest. Its maximum speed is around 285 kilometers per hour at sea level, and it usually will just cruise 190 kilometers per hour, or if you were an American like me, around, give or take, about 135 miles per hour, 135 knots. But here's the key number, though. The one that makes everything that happens later make a lot of sense. It's stall speed. With the flaps down and the engine idling, it is just 85 to 90 kilometers per hour. This is extremely slow. For example, a Cessna 172 that I have flown many times, the published stall speed is around 48 knots. This is a bigger, much more powerful airplane, and its stall speed is just a little bit higher. So that is a big number. This all means the Yak 52 can fly at speeds where most conventional aircraft will simply just fall out of the sky. Now here's what makes this really impressive. As a machine, separate from anything it's doing in Ukraine, it's stressed to put 7 and minus 5 Gs. That's aerobatic grade G tolerance. It rolls more than 180 degrees per second, with measurements record up to 352 degrees per second to the right. It can perform every maneuver in the AirST catalog, and is the complete dictionary of an aerobatic airplane. Its fuel and oil systems allow for inverted flight for up to 2 minutes continuously. It was also built on the classic Soviet tradition, designed to be rugged, maintainable. It's a rough field airplane that can take off in a grass strip. One of the more unusual features in the airplane is its extensive pneumatic system. The engine start, the landing gear, the flaps, and the wheel brakes are all pneumatically actuated. Spherical compressed air bottles stored behind the rear cockpit power these systems, and they can be recharged on the ground from a standard scuba type air bottle if needed. The tricycle landing gear is retractable, but notably it remains partially extended even when retracted, which protects the aircraft in the event of a belly landing. This is a trainer. It was built to teach student pilots to fly, not to go to war. But you might ask, how did this end up as a drone interceptor? The drone problem in Ukraine. When Russia launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February of 2022, drone warfare quickly became central to the conflict, in a way the world had not seen before. Russia began deploying the Orlan 10, a medium-altitude, long-endurance reconnaissance drone developed by the Russian company Special Technology Center. The Orlan 10 weighs around 15 kilometers fully equipped, can reach a maximum speed of around 150 kilometers per hour. and has a flight endurance up to about 16 hours. It is primarily used for reconnaissance, surveillance, and artillery targeting in the eyes of the Russian ground forces. But Russia has also deployed the Zala 421-16E, a smaller flying wing surveillance drones used near the front lines, weighing around 9 kilometers. And then there is what we all have heard a lot of recently, the Shahed long-range one-way attack drone, an Iranian design loitering munitions used to strike Ukrainian cities and infrastructure, flying hundreds of kilometers to their targets. Highly effective. Ukraine does have a formidable air defense, multiple Patriot batteries, NASAMS S-300s, highly effective, but extremely expensive to operate. And the missiles cost vastly more than the drones they're shooting down. A single Patriot interceptor missile costs millions, and an Orlan 10 reconnaissance drone costs tens of thousands. Shooting down cheap drones with expensive missiles is not sustainable, especially for a country like Ukraine. Ukraine needed a cheaper solution, and they found one in a very unexpected place. On the 27th of April of 2024, in the skies over Odessa, the port city in southern Ukraine, footage emerged initially from a Ukrainian media and social media platforms, showing something remarkable. A Yak-52 painted in blue and yellow wing stripes was circling around a Russian Orlan 10 drone that was descending on its orange safety parachute, which automatically deploys on these airplanes or the drones. The Yak-52 was maneuvering in tight circles around the stricken drone. The second video will then come out, shot from the perspective of the Russian drone itself. Looking back at the attacker, the footage showed the Yak-52 with its canopy open, the pilot in the front seat flying circles around the drone, while the rear seat occupant engaged it with a shotgun. The world's reaction was somewhere between disbelief and amusement. How does this work? Well, the Russian Orlan 10, as I mentioned earlier, flies around 150 kilometers per hour. And the other drones, they're not nearly as fast. And remember what I said about the Yak-52 stall speed of 85 to 90 kilometers? Means it could slow down to dramatically, stay airborne, and let the gunner be able to look at the target and take it down with a shotgun. This is what is allowing this to happen. A conventional jet fighter just simply can't do this. It's too fast, and it's also just too expensive. The Yak-52 is that perfect in-between of Soviet ruggedness and affordability. The gunner Ninja described the experience to the Wall Street Journal as, quote, shooting a gun while riding a horse. Both the aircraft and the drone are moving in 3 dimensions, different speeds. The gunner has to account for all the movement of the aircraft, the movement of the drone, the wind, the angle, all while leaning out of an open cockpit at altitude. Both rifles and shotguns have been tested for the role. The gunner had reported to prefer a German-made Henel MK556 automatic rifle. Shotguns have also effectively been used at close range. The Yak-52 has no radar, has no targeting system, nothing like that. It's all done by visual sight, just like a World War I cockpit or World War I fighter pilot. They simply hear the drone, see the drone, take off, intercept, shoot it down. Pretty amazing stuff. The 11th Army Aviation Brigade Deputy Commander Colonel Mikola, and I might mispronounce this, the Kashi, told the Wall Street Journal that his Yak-52 teams account for approximately 10 to 12% of all drones destroyed in an average day. This is no trivial number. That is an impressive feat. With that number said, we have to look into confirmed kills. Some photos in June of 2024 have begun surfacing of Yak-52s with digital and geometric camouflage schemes. Clearly, these are adapted for low-level operations against a background of Ukrainian terrain, but there's also kill marks below the cockpit. The tally painted on the aircraft was specific 6 Orlan 10s and Orlan 30 series drones and 2 Zala 421 drones. That's 8 confirmed kills by the aircraft's own crew markings. But the kill marks also tell a different story. There were actually 2 additional marks, both crossed the red line. One depicted what appeared to be a pelican. The other showed a stylized thundercloud. The crew's explanation was the drone they witnessed being destroyed by a bird strike, and another was struck by lightning. So kind of a weird thing to think about. How did the Russians respond to this? Well, the Russians kind of looked at this as a joke at first, but I believe eventually as it was proven to be effective, they started to really look into it. On July 15th, 2024, a Russian ballistic missile actually struck a hangar at the Hydroport airport, which did destroy one Yak 52 on the ground. It also killed the brigade commander, Kostyan Orban. Ukraine would then halt Yak 52s following the strike, but they were back in the air around November 26, 2024, and the first return mission, they shot down a Russian Orlan 10 over Odessa. They were flying a different aircraft with the green and yellow scheme as earlier. The Russian response went beyond trying to shoot the Yak 52s down. They actually made their own version. The Yak 52B2 is a modified variant fitted with the Pegram S400 FLIR sensor turret under the left wing for detecting drones at a range, and a 12-gauge Saiga 12 automatic shotgun mounted under the right wing. So this is kind of awesome. I can't even lie to you. As of October 2025, the Security Service of Ukraine published a video showing two Russian airplanes, a Yak-52 and a Cessna 172, both concealed under camouflage on the ground, being destroyed by Ukrainian loitering munitions on October 15, 2025. Many people think this may have been a Russian look into a very affordable, somewhat anti-drone airplane, kind of like what Ukraine was using. But the information on this is kind of hard to find, so just take that with a grain of salt. But the bigger picture. A single Yak-52 costs around $50,000 on the civilian market. The drones it's shooting down cost something along the same, $50,000. This is simply how you win a drone warfare. You don't spend $1 million taking one down. You spend the same amount of money, if not less, to take out multiple. And you can do it continuously. The Yak-52 is one element of what Ukraine calls a layered air defense strategy. Patriot batteries, F-16s, MiG-29s, Su-27s are what they all put into it. But the Yak-152 is also in it as well, because it just makes no economic sense to shoot down a drone with a Patriot missile. So let's use the Yak-52s, and that's what they've been doing. But, you know, that's just what 21st century warfare is. I know with the Iran war, we're seeing how we're struggling to counter the Shahed drones. We can take them down effectively, but we're losing so much money. And Ukraine, money is a pretty sparse thing, especially with how the war's been going on over there. They are suffering from war exhaustion now, 4 years into it. But this is simply one of the craziest things in aviation history. And as I always make videos on usually Soviet or Eastern European aviation, I had to make this video after reading it because there was a video this morning of, well, a Yak-52 taking down a drone, and I'll put it right up here. But yeah, this is the story of the Yak-52, how it started as a Russian trainer, a rugged airplane that was designed for actually the everyday man at one point, to being a hero over Odessa taking down drones. What a video. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, hit the bell so you don't miss the next one. I got a lot more planned. Thank you so much for the support in the last video. That was quite amazing to see that. But I really appreciate you guys watching. Thank you, and goodbye.